Hello, my friends. It's Nick and the ASMR nerd. And here we are, midway through November already. I feel like I'm still getting over the fact that summer is over. Like, it's that kind of year. It's really flown by. But it's that time of year where many people, myself included, like to reflect on the year that has been, look back on what has passed, and in particular, I like to think about video games. This probably comes as no surprise to you. Think back on the video games that came out this year. What were my favorite games of the year? Was it a good year for video games? And of course, this is the video games awards shows season. We've got like the Golden Joystick Awards coming up in a few days as of the time of recording, and of course, the Game Awards coming up in early December, I think. And so I kind of wanted to do something in that spirit here on the channel. But I was going to put a little bit of a different spin on it. So instead of putting together just sort of a top 10 list of my favorite games of the year, which is really hard to do, actually, I was going to go back to a list that I put together in January of this year, where I list my top 10 most anticipated games of the year. And if you want to see that video, I'll put a link right up there for you. You can check that out. But I thought it would be fun to go through that list and ask myself whether each game delivered. Did it live up to my expectations? And it's a pretty varied list. And the answer is different for each game, quite varied. I think some games really did deliver, some of them didn't quite hit the mark, and others just got pushed out of this year completely. So it's kind of all over the place, but that's the plan here today, looking back and reflecting on those games. However, there's something else that happens at this time of year, and that is Black Friday. If you want to get sweet deals on all kinds of awesome stuff, now is the time. And I cannot think of sweeter deals or more awesome stuff than the beautiful, elevated, everyday apparel from this video's sponsor, Into the AM. That's right, Into the AM has their annual Black Friday Cyber Monday sale going on right now until December 8th, and it is their biggest sale of the year with their craziest savings. So if you have been waiting for one sale from Into the AM, this is the one. If you've been maybe waiting to pick up something for yourself, treat yourself, get yourself some nice, comfortable, sharp-looking, super easy to care for pieces of clothing, or maybe pick up something nice for someone special in your life this holiday season. Now is the time. So make sure you go check out that link down below at the top of the video description to save 10% off your entire order on top of the already crazy savings that Into the AM is offering on all their beautiful clothing. Beautiful clothing like this Fairbanks flannel. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Fairbanks flannel that I am wearing right here. It is so good. It is so good. It has rapidly become my favorite flannel, and I own quite a bit of flannel. It is so soft, buttery smooth. It is so warm and cozy. It's so soft, actually, that when my wife first touched it, she's like, oh, that's really good. She's like, this is a super snuggly shirt. It looks fantastic. It feels fantastic. It's got a little bit of stretch to it, which is really nice. It's just so easy to wear, so comfortable, and looks so good. It is a scientific fact that wearing a nicely fitted flannel like this one immediately makes you 30% more attractive. It's just science. But maybe you're not into flannel. That's okay. Into the AM has all kinds of other stuff for you, including their classic, beautiful graphic tees and all the rest of their fall 2024 collection. I've had a chance to sample a lot of it. It's all fantastic. It all feels great, looks great, easy to care for. So, once again, now is the time. If you've been waiting, now is the time. Make sure you check out that link down below at the top of the video description. Check out the amazing savings that Into the AM has for their Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. And using that link, you will save an additional 10% of your entire order over at Into the AM and support this channel while you're at it. So big thanks to anybody who does that. And I hope that you love what you get for yourself or for somebody else this holiday season. Big thanks to Into the AM for sponsoring today's video. All right, so let's dive into this list here. So the first game on my list was Tales of the Shire. This is essentially a Hobbit life sim, but it's not out yet. It was announced as a 2024 release, but it got pushed back earlier this year. Now, I know some people have played an early version, like a pre-release version. In fact, a very good friend of the channel, Jubilee Whispers, checked it out on her channel. And I've heard mixed things about it. I've heard some people saying that maybe it's not quite living up to expectations. It does look really cozy, I will say that. And I really hope they can pull it together before release, which I actually don't remember when releases has been moved to. I want to say it's early in 2025, but I don't remember the exact date. But yeah, this game just has so much potential. I think I said in my video back in January that there's just nothing more that I want than to like live out my Hobbit dreams. Just I don't know, doing my gardening, going down to the Green Dragon, and just being a Hobbit. So I'm holding out hope that Tales of the Shire does end up being a compelling, relaxing, cozy game that delivers on that Hobbit fantasy. But didn't make it out this year. So the number 9 game on my list from January was Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster. So this is a remaster of the original 1996 first-person shooter Dark Forces. And it was remastered by Night Dive Studio, who's known for remastering a bunch of old FPSs. And they did a great job. It absolutely lived up to my expectations. The remastered version plays super smoothly, has some nice quality of life features in it, looks really nice. I mean, like, it's not a remake, it's just a remaster, so it uses the original graphics, the original textures and models and all that stuff. But they have cleaned that stuff up in a way that looks really good. And it feels fantastic to play if you're into boomer shooters and you're into Star Wars. It's a really good one of those. Yeah, it delivered exactly what I wanted, and I had a lot of fun playing it. So I'd say that Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered did deliver. And now I really, really hope that we get a Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight remaster. Or a full remake. I'd be okay with that. But a remaster would be excellent because, yeah, as much as I do enjoy the original Dark Forces. It was Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight. That was really my jam as a kid. It's the first game where, Kyle Katarn gets his lightsaber, the Force powers, and it took it from being just a pure first-person shooter to being something much more. Then, of course, that gave way to the Jedi Knight series, like Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy, which have, I think, still to this day, the best lightsaber combat of any game I've played. So those games hold up. Really, I just hope we see remasters of all those games, all the Jedi Knight games. That would be incredible. But yeah, original Dark Forces, solid. A solid remaster. Good job, Night Dive. At number 8 on my list from January, this is an interesting one. Black Myth Wukong. And those of you who are kind of tuned into gaming and the sort of gaming sphere, gaming culture, will probably know that Black Myth Wukong made a big splash this year. And maybe you've played it. Maybe you have enjoyed it. I haven't. Not that I haven't enjoyed it, just that I haven't played it. So I think Black Myth Wukong looks really cool, and I do intend to pick it up, probably on sale in the future. But when it landed, there's a lot of hype around it. It's kind of a Souls-like-ish kind of game based on the classic Journey to the West tale. I think I was hoping for something with a little more like semi-open world exploration or something, but my understanding from just reading some reviews and watching some videos is that it's pretty linear. There's not a lot of opportunity for exploration, and I really love exploration in games. That's why Elden Ring was finally the Soulsborne game that finally got me to actually play one of those. And so I think Black Myth Wukong is probably a game I will enjoy, but I think I was just a little disappointed. It wasn't quite what I was hoping. And that's not on the game. Like, that's definitely on me. But it's why I didn't jump on it right away, because I was like, I can probably wait on a sale for this one. But I know that it was critically well acclaimed. I know that it was, really popular. Lots of people seem to really enjoy it. So I think, broadly speaking, Black Myth Wukong probably over-delivered. Like, I think the impact it had when it landed was much greater than anyone expected. But for me personally, I can't say because like I said, I did not end up picking it up. But yeah, I mean, graphically, it looks just phenomenal. I did download the benchmarking tool just to run it and see how it ran on my system. It looks great. It's an Unreal 5 game. But yeah, it looks really cool. An interesting thing, though, that I was reflecting on is that it made a big impact, and then it kind of felt like it was gone. I guess that's, it's a single player game. Once you finished it, you finished it. It's not like it's a live service thing that keeps people coming back. So I guess it kind of makes sense that it would just, kind of have its launch, gather its accolades, and then just kind of fade away. But I guess I just haven't heard anyone talking about it for a while. So I'd be interested to hear, though, like, did the initial hype actually, carry on right through the end of the game? Like, was it solid all the way through? I think that's an important question, because number 7 on this list was Dragon's Dogma 2. And this is a game that, for me, I have really enjoyed. But I will also admit that I have not played through to the end of Dragon's Dogma 2. It received a fair bit of critical acclaim, but not one, but the biggest criticism I think that I kept seeing was people saying it doesn't really sustain that quality and that level of you know, enjoyability all the way through, I guess. People saying the second half, the back half of that game was fairly weak. And I think I played kind of through, the honeymoon period. I don't think I exited that honeymoon period with the game, because I enjoyed thoroughly the time I spent with it. What I really loved about it, but I should point out, it was my first Dragon's Dogma game. I did not play the original one. So it was quirky. It was quirky in ways that I appreciated. It felt just different and kind of weird, just with the pawn system is kind of weird, but fun. And I really like the feeling of going on a good old adventure, like going into a cave or a dungeon. Really felt like an expedition, or going out into the wilderness really feels like an expedition. And I love that that feeling of delving into the depths of a cave. Who knows what you're gonna find? Some crazy lich or something like that. Or so it had a fantastic sense of adventure. I think that's what I enjoyed the most about it. Will I return to it? Probably. Yeah, I think I do want to go back to it. It's just unfortunate, from what I've heard, maybe the story peters out and the game becomes kind of repetitive after a while. I gather there's not a whole lot of enemy diversity and that kind of thing. So, but I think I will. I hope I get back to it. You'll notice though that there's a trend here in this list, in that I've played a lot of these games, but I've finished none of them. And that's partly a me thing. I'm just very bad at actually finishing games. But it's also just kind of where I am, where my life has been this year. It's been a very busy year, between, getting settled in a new job and getting married and buying a house now. It's been a lot. And so I've not had as much time for gaming in general as I would like. And so, I want to spend more time with most of the games on this list. Maybe I will get a little bit of that time over the holidays. Maybe. I tell myself that, but I don't think it ever happens that way. The holidays are always busy. But anyway. So moving down the list, the sixth game on my list was Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. This is one that was, I think, pretty much what I expected it to be. It was just to say really, really gorgeous, incredibly cinematic, super well performed. Maybe not the most engaging from a gameplay perspective. The first hour of this game, oh my gosh, so slow. It really drags. The combat was fairly divisive. I would say I think it really leans into the cinematic stylings which they are going for. I think it is a really well crafted game. I think they had a very specific vision for it. I think they executed on that vision really, really well. I just don't know if it's that much fun to actually play. But if you go into it expecting a moderately interactive, state-of-the-art cinematic game experience, then I think you'll be satisfied, because I think that's exactly what it delivers, at least of what I've played. Again, caveat here being I have not finished it. It's not even that long a game, but I will go back to that one and finish it off. because it's not especially long, and I would like to see that one through. So, did it deliver? Yeah, I think it did. I think it delivered pretty much exactly what I was expecting. Do I wish that there was more meat on the bone in terms of gameplay? I do, but I knew going into it that it wasn't that kind of game. It wasn't going to be. So, I think it delivered on what it promised and what it set out to do. Number 5 on my list was an interesting one. Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. This was a new IP from Don't Nod. They showed it during the summer game season last year. You play as a pair of essentially ghost hunters, spirit hunters in early colonial Eastern America, basically. And did it deliver? That's a hard question because I wasn't quite sure what to expect. What I will say is I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed my time that I spent with it. It's another game that I would like to go back to, given the time. But I think the gameplay was fine. It wasn't anything to write home about, really, but it was a decent action combat, like little hints of Souls combat in there kind of game. And the environments were interesting. They were not open exactly, but there was some opportunity for exploration, branching paths, things like that. What I think really hit for me with Banishers was the story and the characters. The story is really compelling, as well as side stories and side quests that you do. There's some really interesting stories being told, and the characters of Red and Taya, and their relationship and the choices you have to make are really compelling. I don't think this game did super well commercially. I don't think it sold as well as they were hoping. I honestly think people kind of slept on it. And if you get the chance to pick up Banishers, especially on sale, I think it is a fantastic, pick up on sale. If that kind of game sounds interesting to you. It's a cool setting, cool stories, cool characters, so combat and systems. But I really think that game actually deserved more attention than it got. And I really like that it was something different, something fresh. Trying something with a new IP is always risky. And, I would like to see that rewarded, in terms of the developer, having a payoff and being able to do more with it. But I do not think that was the case with Banishers, which is, too bad. But don't sleep on it. If you see it on sale, pick it up. I went into that game without much in the way of expectations because it was something new, but I quite enjoyed what I played of it. So I would say, I think Banishers delivered. I feel like I'm saying this about a lot of these games here, now that I'm thinking about it. But anyway, okay, next on my list, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. I have really enjoyed what I've played of Space Marine 2. I think it is the epitome of the Space Marine fantasy, and perhaps the most visceral, probably my favorite rendition of the 40k universe in video game form. That game is brutal. That game is beautiful, actually, in a brutal kind of way. But it absolutely fulfills that that Space Marine fantasy to a T. It's also really hard, at least it was. Now, I played it right around launch, and I gather that shortly, after they released a series of patches, which I gather have made it a fair bit easier. And it's also a game that's really designed or intended for cooperative play more than I had expected. And I played solo, and again, I've not finished it, but I played a decent chunk, and I played solo, and I think that's part of why I found it really challenging, because the AI teammates, pretty dumb. More than pretty dumb, really dumb. And I heard that's been improved as well. So I think I need to go back to Space Marine 2. And I think I'll probably find that single player experience probably a little more palatable at this point. But I did enjoy the challenge as well. Like, it felt just brutal in a way that I did not expect, but that I was enjoying. So, but ultimately, it's a pretty simple game, right? It's a fairly straightforward game. The mechanics do start to feel a bit repetitive after a while. You're usually doing, the objectives are of similar kinds, and the gameplay doesn't evolve a whole lot, from what I saw. But, honestly, very much like the first Space Marine, the game knows what it is. It does that thing very well, even if it is maybe a little simplistic in some ways. But I would say that overall, I think the cultural impact on the gaming sphere and the overall quality of Space Marine 2 probably exceeded expectations. I think they did a really good job. I think Saber killed it. And I think that game probably hit harder even than they had expected. So, yeah, I would definitely say Space Marine 2 delivered. All right. The next two are pretty quick, because number 3 on my list was Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, which is coming out this year. In fact, it's coming out in 2 days. I want to say, as of the time of recording, 3 days. But of course, I haven't played it yet, so I can't tell you whether it delivers or not. But I am really looking forward to it. All the preview coverage that I've seen and heard about it suggests it's just takes flight sim and just more and bigger. There's some really cool technical stuff going on under the hood that sounds absolutely wild. I love the fact that you're going to be able to get out of your plane and walk around. The level of detail that they're showing off is unbelievable, just unbelievable. They're doing stuff that no other studio is doing. Anyway, it's a lot of promises that they're making. I'm really looking forward to that career mode. I think that will give a lot more structure and purpose and progression, whereas a Flight Sim 2020 could feel kind of aimless, right? And some people really like that, but I like the idea of having something a bit more to sink my teeth into, and a progression system, But yeah, so I do not know if it will deliver, but they are sure promising a lot, and it sure sounds awesome. So I'll find out in a few days, but I'm looking forward to it. Number 2 on this list is Avowed. Avowed. This is the new RPG from Obsidian Entertainment that is set in the world of Aora, the Pillars of Eternity world. And it got pushed out of 2024. and into early 2025. I believe it has a February 2025 release date. This game has been hovering around sort of the top of my most anticipated games for a while now. This year, obviously, but last year as well. And of course, I cannot tell you if it's going to deliver, but I'm very keen to find out. I feel like Avowed could really go either way. I feel like it could either be like an absolute masterpiece and a landmark game from Obsidian, or it's going to really miss the mark. And of course, I hope it's the former. Even just because like first-person action RPGs are not that common, but it's a niche that I really enjoy. And you know, Obsidian, when they knock it out of the park, they knock it out of the park. So I really hope they're firing on all cylinders for this one, and I want to see what that game is. The final game on this list, Star Wars Outlaws. This is one where I wish I had more to say. You probably wish that I had more to say as well. It's just it was, you know, in January, my most anticipated game of the year. And I have played it, but not as much as I thought I would. I take that as a sign that maybe it didn't grab me as much as I was hoping it would. Now, like I have enjoyed what I've played of it, and I do intend to get back to it. It's a hefty game, and this is another one that I really want to sink my teeth into more over the holiday season. But I haven't felt really like compulsively compelled to play it. But again, I feel like I haven't played enough to really make a final judgment. And I feel like the broader discourse around the game actually probably served to like cool me off on it a bit, which is, it kind of sucks when that happens, right? When it's like you're looking forward to a game and then the discourse around it is really negative, and then it's like, I don't know, it's just you want to enjoy it, but it's like somehow it shouldn't impact you that way. Like you should just be able to enjoy a game on its own merits. Of course, I always try to do that, but there's no escaping the fact that to some degree, you know, hype around a game makes you feel more hype about a game, whereas negative discourse about a game kind of takes the wind out of your sails sometimes a little bit. I don't know, for me. Maybe that's not the case for you. But anyway, the critical and broadly audience reception of Star Wars Outlaws is that it is extremely mid. Sort of the story there. But I don't know. I think from a gameplay perspective, yeah, maybe it's kind of mid. I think there's maybe not as much depth there as I had hoped. I know a lot of people ran into a lot of bugs. I did not, in particular, anyway. No showstoppers, at least. But I will say that it is a really cool setting. I think the environments they've built, the loving way they have just modeled every single little Star Wars item, every blaster, every speeder bike, every piece of stormtrooper armor is just like fetishistic almost. It is to a very, very incredible level of fidelity, and the settings, environments they've built in that game are spectacular. And so for me, part of the draw of a game like Outlaws is just existing in that universe, existing in those settings. And I think on that front, it absolutely excels. I think on the gameplay front, maybe not as strong. But yeah, my tolerance for Outlaws, I think, is higher than some because I really just want to exist in that world and in those settings. And I think the game does a fantastic job of immersing you in the underbelly of the Star Wars universe. Also, absolute banger of a soundtrack. Really, really well done. That menu music slaps. It's extremely good. And that's it. That was my list of my top 10 most anticipated games of 2024 and my takes on whether they deliver or not. So I guess if I had to give Star Wars Outlaws a final assessment, I would say I do not think it delivered quite the way I was hoping or how others had hoped. But I still think there's cool stuff there, and I do want to get back to it. So, yeah, looking at this list over, there's a handful of games, 1, 2, 3 games, that either got pushed out of this year or that have not released yet. In the case of Flight Sim 2024. The rest of them either did deliver, I think, like hit pretty well, or in the case of Outlaws, maybe not quite. But I wouldn't say any of these whiffed absolutely, like whiffed entirely. I think some people will say that Senua's Saga whiffed because they found it boring or the gameplay wasn't engaging. But I went into it kind of expecting a game like that. So I think for me, it delivered what I was expecting. I think Outlaws, yeah, some people will say it majorly missed. And again, for me, because of, I think, the setting and my enjoyment of that immersion and that setting, I think maybe that mitigated some of the less enjoyable aspects of that game. But yeah, I know some people will feel very strongly that game did not hit. And as for the rest of them on here, I think they pretty respectable, did a decent job. So that's that. So I would love to hear your thoughts about these games, whether you played them, and if you did, whether you feel they hit or not. Did they deliver? Also, what games were you most looking forward to this year, and did they deliver? I know for me, there's still at least one more big game that I'm still looking forward to a lot. It didn't make this list because it actually the release year hadn't been announced as of this past January. But that game is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'm really hyped for that. I think what they're showing looks excellent. And so I really hope that one delivers. I also just started playing the Dragon Quest III remake, Dragon Quest III HD 2D. That game literally just came out 2 days ago. Again, it did not make this list because it did not have a release year announced as of this past January. But I will say that one is hitting everything that I want. It is such a beautiful nostalgia piece. I would be curious to know if anybody else who has played it, especially people who are coming to that game for the first time now, if you are enjoying it. Because for me, it's delivering all that nostalgia stuff that I want. And so, of course, I'm going to love it. Like the music, the visuals, just everything. It's a beautiful coat of paint. And that classic gameplay with, a bunch of nice new quality of life features and stuff. But yeah, that game is a work of art. But I'd be curious to hear from people who had not played the game before, if that game is what you expected, you know. Anyway, that's kind of neither here nor there because it wasn't on my list. So I guess it's not really a topic of discussion right now. Anyway, but yeah, let me know down in the comments what games you were most looking forward to and whether they did, in fact, deliver. Looking back on the year as a whole, I think it was a fine year for games, but I wouldn't say it was like a standout year for games. That's just my overall impression. But I could be convinced otherwise. I'm trying to think of what the real big hits this year were. Yeah, I mean there were good games. And believe it or not, next year there will be more good games. There's always good games to come. But I wouldn't say it was a disappointing year, but I wouldn't say it's one that's gonna like go down in history. It's like one of the best years in gaming, you know. But we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it relaxing. And I look very forward to having you back here next time. Farewell for now. You know, it can be pretty disappointing when a game that we've been really looking forward to doesn't deliver, but it happens sometimes. But you know who does always deliver? This channel's amazing supporters on Patreon and YouTube memberships. You can see all of their illustrious names right here. They've never let me down, not once. They are amazing folks who kindly support what I do here on the channel, allowing me the freedom to make the kinds of content that I enjoy the most and that you hopefully enjoy listening to and watching the most. If you, dear viewer or listener, would like to join their ranks, you can find links down below at the top of the video description. Equivalent perks available on both Patreon and YouTube. On both sites you will find 3 different tiers, and I'm sure you will find one that is right for you. At the highest tier, the Fusro Da tier, those incredible supporters get a special spoken thank you in every single one of my videos because I cannot thank them enough. I keep trying. I thank them in every video, but it's never enough. And so that is why you are about to hear their names once again right now, starting with Bruce Buchner, Smitty, Ragnar Ragnarsson, Joe, Jake Luffney, Odin's son, and drummer Britt. Once again, an immense thank you to our Fusro Da tier supporters for their incredible generosity and support, and indeed to all of the fantastic folks that you see here. Thanks again, supporters.